We are continuing to move up the spell levels in this D&D third-party spelly thing series. I'm so good at this. Anyway, as we've done cantrips level 1 and level 2 spells, that means we are now going on to level 3 spells, which is good. It also means that these spells are all competing with Fireball, and I think that's one of the kind of benchmarks that a lot of spells should be considered against. It also means we're looking at things like Revivify as well for healing spells potentially. So let's get into this. One day I'll do an intro as to who I am at some point in one of these videos as well, but that'll I'm going to do it after. I always do. It's very silly. I'm very silly. Here we are kicking off with my honourable mention, which is one of the two spells that Rupert the Good, who commented on the level 2 video, was hoping would be here. And despite the fact that I said that only one of them made it onto the list, they both sort of did, but this one is the honourable mention. Reanimate is from the Grim Hollow Player's Guide, and it serves as a really interesting resurrection spell. It's interesting for a few reasons. The first is that it's only on 2 spell lists. It's on the Druid spell list, and it's also on the Sangromancy Wizard spell list, which means that this is one of the few resurrection spells that wizards gain access to in a kind of reasonable level, because generally healing is off limits for them. This is an action to cast, and it's an evocation spell, which I think is quite funny. As part of casting the spell, you must expend 3 hit dice, or the spell automatically fails. Touch a creature that has died within the last 10 minutes, and return it to life with 1 hit point. In addition, roll the hit point dice expended to cast the spell, so the 3 hit point die you rolled earlier, and the creature gains temp health equal to the roll. At the start of each of its turns, it loses 1 temp health granted by the spell. While the creature has temp health granted by the spell, it moves with unnatural vigor. Gains a +2 to any ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws. Once it loses the temp health granted by the spell, it gains 1 level of exhaustion. The spell can't revive a creature that has died of old age, nor does it restore any missing body parts. This is only the honourable mention and not on the proper list, purely because I had a really hard time whittling down the 10 spells I was going. And it was between this and another. On any given day that I did this could be swapped out with the other spells, ultimately. I think this is a fascinating design space for a revive type spell. I think the fact that you're sacrificing your hit dice to do it is really fun, and I love that about the Sangromancy and Grim Hollow, just a huge amount. It means that you get more for doing this if you're either taking the Sangromancy Initiate feat that the book has, which gives you 2d12s to use in place of your hit dice. It also means that you benefit more if you have a better hit dice, which spellcasters generally don't. It's a fun way to keep this interesting, and it adds a lot of quirks and potential to multiclassing and things like that. So yes, big fan. I think we've got a nice mix of spells here, but we are going back to Grim Hollow again this time. This is called the Rabid Beast, which is an action to cast, and it requires vision. This is on Bard, Cleric, Druid, Ranger, Warlock, and Wizard spell lists, so you're doing all right for this one. A creature you touch transforms into a rabid monster filled with primal fury. The target sprouts thick fur and its mouth elongates into a fanged maw. While transformed into a seething monster, the creature gains the following benefits. Gains 20 hit points and have an AC of 17 if its AC is lower than that. Does an additional 5 damage on strength-based attacks, which is silly. It can make a bite attack as a bonus action, which is 1d6 plus its strength mod. It's immune to the frighten condition. It can't maintain concentration and can't cast spells. And at the beginning of the creature's turn, it must succeed on a DC 10 wisdom saving throw or lose control. Fails, it must take the attack action on each of its turns to attack the closest creature within reach, whether it's an ally or enemy. None are within reach. Creature must use that movement, and if necessary, a dash action to move within reach of the nearest creature. It's worth noting that you can drop concentration spells on whenever you want, more or less, depending on how individual DMs rule it. I know we do it in our games, but I think most people will mean that I think most DMs would allow you to drop concentration on your own turn as a free action. I just really like this. As a spell, I love the image it presents. It's like a messed up polymorph, which I appreciate. I love how much this benefits. Strength-based monks are going to get a huge amount out of this because you're going to be putting points into your wisdom, but I also think it's good for rangers. I think it's good for barbarians if they've got a decent enough wisdom score. There's just a lot of fun to be had with this spell, and I think it's sick. From the serious and the grotesque to the slightly sillier Conjure Cannonball from the Gunslinger class from Valdespira Secrets. I really hope we get more classes from that book. There are so many in there, and I think it's so wonderful when we get new classes on D&D Beyond. I like subclasses, obviously. I talk about them a lot. But classes are such a refreshing injection of excitement into the whole thing. This is why I'm so excited about the Artificer finally hitting 2024 rules, even though it is always further out than I think it is. I keep thinking he's coming out today at the time of recording this, but it's not, because today is the other one, the Beirut one, Forgotten Realms one. Anyway, this is an action to cast, and it's a deck save. You summon a cannonball mid-flight and at full velocity, which explodes on impact. Make a ranged spell attack roll against a target you can see. This is a 600-foot range, so that's a lot of range. On a hit, the target takes 5d10 bludgeoning damage, and an explosion extends from it in a 5-foot emanation, which isn't much, but if you're using digital tools, that's going to do you a lot better than it would do with based rules, generally speaking. Each creature other than the target within the emanation has to make a dex saving throw, and they take half as much damage if they fail the save. So you get to shoot a creature as an attack roll, which is wonderful, and then also potentially hit other creatures near it. If you've got other members that can group people up, then this is going to be really solid. Next, we're hitting up the Crooked Moon, and this is Culling Sickle, which is a bonus action to cast, and it requires concentration that lasts for a minute. You create a ghostly sickle that lasts for the duration and can strike out at your foes. The sickle appears hovering in your space and moves with you. When you cast this spell, and as a bonus action in each of your turns, you can direct it to fly at and strike a creature within 30 feet of you. Make a ranged spell attack. On a hit, the target takes 2d8 necrotic damage, and you gain temp health equal to half the damage dealt. Actually, not just the roll, it includes your modifier. It doesn't have a modifier. It takes 2d8. I've needlessly complicated this. After the sickle hits or misses, it returns to hover in your space, and the damage goes up by 1d8 for each spell slot above level 3. While this isn't a huge amount of damage for a 3rd level spell, it is repeatable, and it is obviously very comparable to Spiritual Weapon, but you gain temporary health instead of having slightly more damage, I think, with Spiritual Weapon. You can't also have it away from you at all times. It kind of flies out from you instead. I just really like this spell. I think this is a great design. I love the Crooked Moon setting as well. I would be hard pressed to choose between it and the Grim Hollow. Please don't make me. We are now heading to Heliana's Guide to Monster Hunting for Depth Charge, which is an action to cast, 90-foot range in a 20-foot area. With a boom that can be heard 300 feet away or 1,000 feet in a liquid, a pulse of thunder ripples out from a point you see. A pulse of thunder ripples out from a point you choose within range. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on that point must make a Constitution saving throw. A target takes 7d6 thunder damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. This damage increases to 96 if the affected creature is submerged in a liquid. If you cast this with a higher spell slot, it goes up by 1d6 for each spell slot. This, I think, is a good balance effect, a good balance attempt, I guess, when it comes to Fireball does 8d6 and it's fire damage, which means it's more commonly resisted. This does thunder damage, which is fun thematically if you're playing a bard, I think. Not that it's on the bard spell list, but hey. And it's weaker if it's not in liquid, and then you get an extra d6 if it is in liquid, so it's thematic as well, in my opinion. It's a con save instead of a deck save, which makes it slightly weaker, but overall, I really like this spell. I had a player cast it in a pirate-themed campaign I was running, and they used it to great effect. We are back in Grim Hollow again, this time for Elemental Exhalation. This is an action to cast, and it is a 30-foot cone. When you cast the spell, you choose the following effect, which determines the spell's damage type. The spell does 5d6 of damage on a failed dex save, and on a successful save it takes half as much, and the damage goes up by 1d6 for each level above 3. If you choose air, the damage type is thunder, and each creature that fails the throw is pushed 10 feet away from you. Cold fire does cold, and each creature becomes frightened. Earth is bludgeoning, each creature has its speed reduced to 0 until the end of next turn. That one's really strong. They're all pretty strong. Fire is fire, shockingly. Each creature that fails the throw takes 2d6 at the end of its next turn, but it can extinguish itself by giving itself the prone action and rolling on the ground. It also goes out if it's doused, submerged, or suffocated. Fire, not the creature. Guess it doesn't matter if the creature's suffocated. Too late at that point, right? And water, the damage is acid. Each creature that fails the saving throw has the prone condition, because you're knocking them over. I just like Dragon's Breath style spells in D&D. I just do, and this is a really cool one because it has all these extra little effects. I've used this as a player, as a druid, and I had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a very entertaining spell as long as you can line up a few opponents, and sometimes those conditions that it can apply are absolutely different as well, which is always good. We are heading to the Humblewood campaign setting. I love the Humblewood books. I feel like I don't get much chance to talk about them here because they're older and they're not 2024 specific, and most of my content is 2024 specific just because that's what I'm playing. But I really, really like them. I think the setting is obviously very, very cute, but I also think it lends itself well to some interesting story types that you can't necessarily manage with traditional D&D. Also, it's cute to have giant hedgehogs. Anyway, this is an action to cast and it lasts for a minute. It is not concentration. You transform your arms into powerful wings and your fingers into long, graceful feathers. The effect of this spell lasts for 1 minute, at which point the feathers gradually fall out, causing you to float gently to the ground as your arms return to their original form. The spell confers a number of benefits upon the caster. As a bonus action, you can fly up to double your movement speed. You must land once you finish your movement, although you do not take full damage while the spell is active, as your feathered arms bear you gently to the ground. You can use your feathered arms to propel yourself upward a distance equal to half your movement speed, and you can do this once during your turn, and you may use it in conjunction with a regular jump. While falling, you can take a reaction to stiffen your arms and glide. You can fly up to your movement speed in any direction, choosing where you land. You gain advantage on all athletics checks you would make to do a long high jump, which is good. You also don't need to move 10 feet before doing that jump as well, which is cool, and you jump triple the distance. You can't be carrying a shield or any heavy weapons to do this, though, and you cannot be encumbered. This is a really good ranger spell, and it is on the ranger spell list. It's just a generally good ranged spell because it lets you flit around the battlefield without fly speed. It's just cool. I love the idea that the feathers kind of appear so that you can fly off, and then they become more like normal arms almost as you're using weapons, and then transform again as you fly off. It's good. I've seen players use this in a campaign I was running, and it was a really cool moment as they kind of flew around this ship to get out of it. This was not the pirate themed campaign. I just do a lot of stuff on boats. Here we have the Diviner Wizard as a spell, but not quite as good. Makes sense. Invoke the Amaranthine is another Humblewood spell, and this reads: you call upon the power of the Amaranthine to grant yourself insight into the great rhythm that moves all things. When you cast this spell, you roll 2 d20s and record what you roll. Each die, you can choose either attack roll, skill check, or saving throw, and you can choose each option multiple times. For the next 24 hours, you can substitute any roll of an ally or enemy you can see within 60 feet of you with one of the recorded rolls that matches the type of roll you wish to replace. The target still adds any relevant modifiers to this number, but otherwise treats the substituted number as if they rolled it. You must spend a reaction to do this, and you can do it at any time after the skill check has been rolled, but before the outcome of the event has been decided. The spell ends after 24 hours have passed, or when both dice have been expended. I've seen players use this to great effect. I like the fact that you have to choose what kind of roll it's going to be, what kind of d20 test it's going to be. I like the fact that you have to choose what kind of d20 test it's going to be, because it makes you think ahead a bit more, and it kind of balances the power level of the spell itself. This is only available for clerics and paladins, generally speaking, but it's very strong. From clerics and paladins to Illriggers. This is from the Illrigger Revised. This is Moat of Hell, which is a concentration spell. You manifest a pocket of hell. A 15-foot radius sphere of darkness, brimstone, and blasting heat appears, centered on a point within range and lasting for the cloud of hellfire echoes with the cries of damned souls that can be heard by creatures within 30 feet of it. No light, even magical light, can illuminate the cloud, and any creatures fully in that area are blinded. The cloud warps the timescape, making the cloud's area difficult terrain, and a creature who starts their turn in the area takes 3d6 fire damage, and a creature who ends the turn in the area must save on a wisdom saving throw or take 3d6 psychic damage. This is a really awesome spell. I've seen a player lock down a battlefield with this, and ironically the gnolls they were fighting did a similar kind of spell on the other side. So I ended up having to just skip ahead a minute basically, and let the players kind of heal up and use that time as they wanted, rather than playing out every turn, because there was no reason for anyone to run into either of these things. It's a strong spell for locking down an area. The fact that it does damage at the beginning of a creature's turn means that you're guaranteed some damage anyway. That's no save involved, and then the extra damage at the end of the turn allows you to kind of play around with that and try to control enemies into it. It's just good. Next we have, I don't think it's how you pronounce it, I just felt like being a bit fancy, just a little bit. It's an action to cast, and it reads: 2 muscular arms of brilliant arcane energy appear on a willing creature that you touch. These arms are fully functional and can be used to wield weapons and shields, allowing the target to simultaneously hold 2 two-handed weapons or 4 one-handed weapons, perform somatic components of spells, and perform other actions. For the duration, the target has advantage on strength checks, athletics, just athletics. The target can also take a bonus action in order to make a melee attack using a weapon wielded by their arms. This is a cool spell. I just like it. It's just neat. The idea of walking around and kind of, because what you can do with this is you could have a shield, but you could also have a two-handed weapon in one set of arms, and then maybe a dagger in the other. It's not going to work. You can't nick with that, but it's fun. Or you can just have a great axe and a great sword and just go to town. Either way, It's cool, and it's from Valdespire Secrets as well, as you can probably tell from the flavour of it. Although the Heliana's book can be kind of silly with some of the spells as well, which I appreciate. Speaking of Heliana's, we have arrived at our final spell for this particular video, which is Exhibit is a reaction to cast for a minute. It's concentration though. In response to a creature vocalizing, you make a sharp sound and hold a finger up in attempt to interrupt them. The target must succeed in a con saving throw or become silenced, as its mouth is fused shut for the duration. If you silence the target that's casting a spell with verbal components, the target's spell slot isn't expended, but its action is wasted. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make a strength saving throw as it tries to tear its mouth open. On a success, the target takes 1d8 slashing damage and is no longer silenced. Alternatively, as an action, the target can use a bladed implement to cut open its mouth, taking 1d8 slashing damage and ending the silence. Either way, they're taking 1d8 slashing damage, basically, if they have a bladed implement nearby. And then if you cast it at higher levels, the damage goes up. This is a novel take on Counterspell, and one that I don't think is too strong. You're not wasting the spell slot, even though that is how the new Counterspell works. Stupid, but that's me. But you are taking the action, and it is something they have to interact with. It's also something you do have to concentrate on, so if they hit you or something else hits you and you fail your con save, then this is not an issue. It's really good design, I think. I like it a lot, and I think it's also a very funny and kind of horrific image as well. So, big vibes. You know the scene I am talking about if you have seen the film. Anyway, that is it for this edition of Jason Talks About Third-Party Stuff. I hope you enjoyed this, as you have hopefully enjoyed the other 3 videos. We're getting through them. I really appreciate everybody that comments, likes, and watches these things. I have a lot of fun doing them. It's nice for me to wax lyrical about these third-party books, because I love them a lot. And yeah, if you did enjoy this, please subscribe. It is appreciated. Share it with your friends. Have it on repeat, you know, all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Do take care in the meantime. Goodbye.